Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan, and I'm the TeamMED India coordinator for this year 2021. I'm here to give you a brief overview of what we do on TeamMED India, and hopefully you can pick up some pointers that may lead you to why you want to come and join our team. I just want to give a shout out to Kartik, our last year team coordinator, who helped me put together this presentation. So just a caveat that the coronavirus is still happening pretty prominently in India. And so normally a trip will be held at the end of the year in December. But this trip will only go ahead if we know for sure that our safety is guaranteed. So we're going to a place called Dharamshala, which is the north of India. And so what Dharamshala means is that it literally means a spiritual dwelling in Hindi. And in loose translation, it just means a shelter or rest house for pilgrims and travelers. And in Himachal Pradesh, the province, there are two capitals they have. Dharamshala itself is the winter capital, and Shimla serves as summer capital, which is more popularly known as a hill station. So there are a few fun facts I'd like to share with you about Dharamshala. Although the majority of population in Dharamshala is still majority Hindu, there's a significant minority, about 30-something% of them are Buddhists. And that's because they are predominantly Tibetans that live in exile from China in Tibet. And they actually settle in a little area called McLeodganj, which is colloquially known as Little Tibet. And the most famous resident there is probably the Dalai Lama, which I'm sure most of you probably know who he is. Some other famous things and tourist attractions I can do around Dharamshala, including visiting their tea fields. And the most famous strain of tea that is from there is called Kangra tea. As you may be aware that Dharamshala is located at the foot of the Himalayas, trekking is also a very popular activity to be done there as well. And finally, if you look at the picturesque picture down here, which shows like the Dharamshala Stadium, it actually is a world-class cricket stadium that recently hosted Test match, with being India versus Australia, where Steve Smith scored a century to ensure an Australian win. So we said it'll be held in Dharamshala about 2 to 3 weeks, usually held after the end of the exams. And we're looking to take about 2 to 4 medical students that can be from any year level. And the purpose of this trip is to focus on drug and alcohol awareness programs in schools, with an aim of trying to educate high school students there. The reason why we do this is because drug and alcohol abuse is rampant in rural regions of India, including Dharamshala herself. The reason being is that we want to educate these high school students or adolescents about drug and alcohol abuse and its impact that it has on their local society, so that when they grow up and they're in positions that they're able to do so, they can facilitate change to make society better. So we'll be working with this organization called Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development, or CORD for short. So what they are is that they're an organization that helps with rural development throughout India. So rather than just giving aid, CORD focuses on helping people by teaching them necessary skills to be self-sufficient and independent. And a fun fact about them is that they're set up by this Indian pediatrician. So there are 3 parts to this program. First is, while we're overseas here in Australia, we'll be hosting some fundraising campaign to support their efforts in India. And we'll also be creating an education program and also a presentation for them to use in school so that they can help out with their efforts. And while we're there, we'll also be visiting not just the schools, but also communities along court staff members to learn about the local determinants of health and their local culture as well. So this is kind of like what a normal day will look like there. So in the morning, for about 90 minutes or so, we'll be teaching the high school students about the drug and alcohol awareness program that we've developed. Then we'll be going for a bit of lunch. In the afternoon, we'll be going for either community visits, or if there aren't any, we can go and sightsee, such as going trekking, visiting cricket stadium, or checking out the local areas in Dharamshala. And they also have quite a few monasteries as well. So I've been told that this is actually the highlight of the trip. The reason being is that this is the opportunity to have a very good positive influence on these kids. So a few facts that we should be aware about. These schools only get about 9 to 10 Australian dollars per student to help fund and make and run this school. So you get about 15 to 18-year-old high school students who mostly come from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And for the most part, they've never actually seen any foreigners or any non-Indians before this. And so for the first time, it might be the first time seeing us, and they're naturally very curious. It is pretty hard if you don't speak Hindi to converse with them. However, there will be interpreters that will help you out. And naturally, because they're curious, they'll try to find ways to communicate with you regardless. And so it's a good opportunity for us to learn about their local culture, and they'll be very passionate to teach us about it. And on the flip side, it'll be also a good opportunity for us to teach about our local culture as well to them. And so overall, it'll be a very interactive experience, and it'll be a fun experience from my past experiences, not on this trip, but in past global health trips I've been to India as well. So the school visit is kind of like part one of the trip. Later on the day, think of community visits as like a follow-up experience to what the kids would say. So if the kids say that their uncle or their aunt, drinks alcohol, then later on you go and have a chance to visit their homes to see the effects that it has on it. This gives you like a very first-hand insight into what happens in these societies. It's kind of like take it a step further from what you see in schools, and then you see the perspectives of why like these people went down this path, and it comes into something that is hard to solve that you'll see. And it's also a great opportunity to meet, truly inspiring people who face, like honestly, a pretty harsh reality every day from what they do. So on to sightseeing. I've been to India before, and honestly, India is a beautiful country to visit. But I've only been to the metro areas like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and a few other cities. Dharamshala, I've honestly never been, but just based on the photos that I've seen and I've heard about, is completely beautiful. You can imagine like a city that's located at the foot of the Himalayas, how picturesque it could be. And it also has the added benefit of being at a better climate, less hot, and also much cleaner air. So has a different vibe and culture to the other metropolitan areas in India. And like I said before, you at least have afternoons to visit during the weekdays, if not the weekends. And so there'll be plenty of time for you to explore the region and its culture as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about logistics. The total cost of this trip, from what I've gathered from people who went on this trip most recently, it costs about $1,700. So you should roster about $1,200 for flights to and from India, and their total living expenses is about 500, which includes everything like room and board, food, internet, and interpreter as well for the entire time. I do highly recommend that you bring some cash along with you beforehand. So I really recommend that you convert some Australian dollars to rupees before you leave Australia. But since I was last there, India has digitalized, and a lot of shops now actually accept digital forms of currency, like using Google Pay and Paytm, which I've been told are the two most popular forms of digital currency exchange there. So in general, English is not really spoken in Dharamshala. Hindi is the main language spoken there, along with the two regional languages of Tibetan and Pahari. I myself did not learn any Hindi before going there, but because of my overwhelmingly positive experience there and just interacting with the locals a lot, I managed to pick up a few phrases here and there that I found that actually helped make my experience better and also help make my life there easier as well. If you see a local and you just say a customary "aap kaise hain," generally like the people there are actually surprised and shocked, and they'll just say, "Oh, you can speak Hindi," which is a bit of an overstatement, but it just goes to show how welcoming and how much they appreciate that we learn a few phrases here and there. And of course, beyond the customary phrases, we have an interpreter here that will help us translate whatever we need to speak more in depth to the locals. But I just want to say that it's good to learn a bit of Hindi before going in. So thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation. Just want to let you know that applications open on April 1st. And if you have any questions below, feel free to message us or leave them in the Google form and we'll get back to you shortly. I really highly encourage you guys to apply for this trip. Honestly, India is an amazing place to visit, whether as a local or as a foreigner like myself. And I can guarantee you that your horizons will be broadened for sure. For those who are interested in applying for this, I'll see you guys shortly. Take care. Bye.